I think I'm having trouble a little bit with all the things going on, that unless we talk about something I'm really home to, I may not be able to participate, and I'm behind. You know what I mean?
I just want to say you did a very good job. So good job.
It's that thing where you're actually kind of smart. Things you say make you sound dumb.
Yeah, we both do that.
What's that called?
Nope. Yeah, but you're a little different, Dad.
Stop saying sure! Oh, it drives me crazy!
Are you seeing clear? Are you seeing clear?
I think most people just ignore the tough question. This isn't Minecraft. This is real life.
You are hilarious.
That was not the dog, Dad. That was you.
Yeah, to solve this, we have to completely ignore the main problem.
That makes literally no sense to me. I just want to die.
And that, my friend, is one of my favorite things about you.
Hey, welcome to Renaissance Radio, where blankets are just thick sheets.
I only sleep on blankets, actually.
I've noticed that. A lot of times I will sleep. I haven't noticed a lot about your sleeping habits. I've literally never seen you fall asleep. That's real. Just want to go on the record and say that I've never seen you fall asleep.
Yeah, I don't own any sheets at all.
Now, if you've gone to a movie with me, what have you seen?
I've never seen you finish a movie.
I fall asleep. It's, I'll be honest with you, I don't stop moving a lot. And it's a true story when I tell you that one time I fell asleep while the dentist was drilling my teeth. And I woke up to kind of biting down on the drill a little bit.
I didn't know that
That's
story.
a true story, yeah. Out at, well, I won't say because that sounds bad. He's like, let's get you a spacer. And he's like, looked at it and he's like, we didn't do any damage there, but you can't fall asleep while I'm drilling you, bud. and like I tell that story to family and they're like,
You're like, the drill is just such nice white noise.
yeah, well, it's the truth. Like just the act of laying down, and especially if you close your eyes, it's just like, I just don't do that very often.
Have you tried doing that at night?
Boy, do I try. Boy, do I try. Yeah, and when I tell that story, they assume that like it created a whole bunch of damage and stuff, but it didn't. And he just goes, okay, let's put a spacer in there and we'll call it a day.
Oof, you got lucky, I think.
Welcome to the show, Harley. I have so many guests lined up. Shannon's been doing an amazing job. We have a local...
You've got Gary Vee coming on soon, don't you?
I don't. No, Gary Vee's kind of said what he has to say. I really respect him. I really like him. But I'm looking for people who just haven't said what they've been trying to say the whole time.
Oh, you're looking for guys like Mark Cuban.
I'm looking for, Gary G. You know what I mean?
Got you,
Early.
Gary G, bro.
Yeah, what's up, Gary G? So I've got a lot of guests lined up. Let me just let me name off a few of them. So we've got a Yelp Elite. Don't make fun of that because I'm really excited about this. I got nominated to be a Yelp Elite reviewer, which sounds like kind of a cheesy thing, but it's really, really cool. And businesses live and die by the reviews.
Yeah, when does your flare come in for that?
Well, I don't know that I'm going to get Flair or not, but they have, well, I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about. The point is, it's a really neat thing. And basically what happens is, I didn't realize I wasn't like competing for it and training for it and stuff, but essentially they said,
I've been running a Yelp marathon.
Yeah. They basically said that if your reviews are easy to read and understand and give great insights to the restaurant or the place and you take good photos and stuff. So those are things I naturally do anyway. I try to be really thoughtful in the reviews. And so that was cool to be recognized for that because it's a side thing. A lot of people have commented on how funny the reviews can be.
Yeah, there's a couple that are pretty funny. But your Panera one was my favorite.
Some of them are like legitimate, like optimistic advice to the owner because they're doing so many things and I want to be very thoughtful about like, hey, this was a good experience, but it could have been great if this happened. Or sometimes what I do is I listen to the chatter of the employees more than most people would. We were out the other day together at a very exciting interview for one of our employees.
That's right. Smacking down on some chicken wings.
Yeah, we were. And it was
If you ever want to have a job interview, the best place to do it is somewhere where that you get covered in sauce and you're focused on how much pain your mouth is in.
You know what it reminds me of is like startups who like want to show how cool they are and they buy like beanbags and stuff. And there's like, hey man, do you want to hang out? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's like candy in a van a little bit.
Yeah.
Chicken wings and bring in an employee who has to kind of sell themselves on why they should work for you. And they're having to navigate all this sauce and all this stuff. It's literally like, hey bro, want to go vibe for a minute and just chat it out. It's so weird and lack of planning on our part.
It was great.
But he's joining on and we're
I want to do all my interviews like that in the future.
We're so excited to have him and we're glad he's joined the team, but it was not a good idea. A little bit of business advice there. Well, maybe it was. Maybe we put him in an uncomfortable situation. He nailed it. And there we go.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, if you can perform under pressure while your mouth is on fire,
there's no pressure
that says
like
something
eating
about
in
you.
front of people, too.
Yeah, right.
It's so uncomfortable. People have these weird quirks about eating that can be a turn off. It's not a great idea, but we did it. But yeah, the Yelp review, elite review thing is really cool. I'm having a gentleman who does that and is starting a food blog on, which is really hilarious because I promise you, I can show you the email stamps from the middle guys. I know you just talked to a really awesome guy.
Yeah, convenient Jeremy.
Convenient Jeremy. Yeah, I'm basically like, okay, I'll do episode 25 exactly like episode 99 from them.
Nice one, dude.
Yeah, but I've got a band. Andrew Pirtle's band is going to come out. We're going to talk about, it's not really about the music. It's about the process of running a band. Like, how do you run a band? How do you make music? How do you make decisions and things like that? That'll be really cool.
Like rock band?
Yeah, it's kind of an indie, in these parts and,
Or like Guitar Hero?
no, not so much. We'll hear about it when they come on.
Oh, okay.
They're an interesting group. And I think music is really something that is very little about whether or not you like the style of the musician. There's so much other stuff that goes into it. And I'm just excited to hear about that. And I think a lot of young artists, young being anybody who starts something new, may benefit from hearing from a band that, like, I think in one case, one of their concepts they took, it's been like 5 years and just through life and things changing, they haven't released a project and they're getting ready to release it. So, that's an interesting topic. And then there's just a whole bunch of folks. There's a company locally here that serves folks with autism work at this place. And there's just a lot of neat things going. But I thought, Harley, as someone I spend a lot of time with, and you and I give each other a lot of advice and insight, we confide on those things. I thought we could talk kind of a half and half disrupted episode about Renaissance Agency. This is kind of a metamorphosis period for me where I'm learning and understanding and watching as we go. There's obviously tangible products like Renaissance Radio coming out of it, but it's this weird thing where like this really neat thing is happening and I'm getting feedback as if it's a main, like the radio program is some sort of main network. And I'm getting feedback on like art projects and like opportunities to do video and photo. And I'm turning down like 95% of it right now. And it's not just time. It's like, I don't know, that's just not a great fit. That just doesn't fit. And I guess it would be easy to ask me at this stage, well, does anything fit? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we had a conversation yesterday. Like, is this a hobby? Is it an agency? When you look at it, well, I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that?
I think that's a great place to start because, as I've been watching Renaissance develop and turn into what it is for a long time. And so I guess my main question to you would be like, has your ultimate goal for the agency shifted and how has it shifted since you set out to create what you've created?
That's a great question. I feel like very strongly, like I'm so content. It's like I'm watching a movie that I haven't seen before. And that's one of my favorite experiences, regardless of the restaurant, regardless of the movie. I'm at my sweet spot when I go in and I go, chef's choice, like make me whatever you're excited about. No restrictions, no preferences, no allergies. I tell the chef, make me your best thing. And when I go see a movie, even if it's not great, I'm like, don't tell me about it. I just want to experience it myself. I want that first experience where I can like see it and sense it and feel it and give a really honest take without any tainting from anybody else. And I feel like I'm in this really weird spot for the very first time where I'm not projecting very much on Renaissance Agency and I'm just enjoying seeing what it's becoming. I feel like I'm doing the next thing and I see some of its weaknesses. I see that I need really a staff of 2 or 3 to do my next stage of what I prefer to do. I see the projects that have stalled and I see the turning away of some artists and some clients that based on what I said in the beginning seemed like what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then I thought about actually doing it. And I was like, that's not what I want. I don't want to do the work I did before. I thought that's what I wanted. I was like, okay, I know how to do I did really well at that, but now I know how to do it right. And then when it's in front of me, I'm like, yeah, I've already seen this. Like, I already know what this is. And so it's not that I never want to do that work. I mean, I get inspired by it, but in terms of what Renaissance Radio and especially Renaissance Agency is, I'm still fully committed to the idea that there's something special about artists, craftsmen, techies, and thinkers. I think my dream right now, man, like my dream is to have my space. Like I love the flow we're in. I love the amazing work we're doing for our company right now. I love how my family life is going. I love everything else. I really want a space where I can just like make stuff, and I have what I need to make it. So like some of the things I have intellectually, I have like designs that I want to do, but I've got stopping points, but I don't have the drive yet to push through those stopping points. I'm just like, yeah, I know that needs done. So we'll just do that when it's time. It's really weird. It's a weird place to be content and satisfied, but still have a lot of ambition. It's bizarre.
Yeah. So where's that leave Renaissance, because theoretically it sounds like if I were just going to, like, if you were just said, hey, like, what do I do? It would be reasonable to say, well, based on what you're telling me, you should just save a bunch of money until you can get your space, and then you can create your space and have all the resources you need to create what you want to create. But I don't think that's
Yeah, I'll probably be a moving target when that happens.
like, I don't think
too.
that's the right fit for you.
Yeah.
So where's that leave you now? What's that mean right now?
Honestly, it's so weird because it's weird to be starting something and growing something. And like, I'm making killer progress. It's pretty cool. It's awesome. The stuff people are seeing on the radio, I'm getting feedback, both constructive and positive. And it's the people that are giving constructive feedback. If you're listening right now, based on what I've been hearing, you're not from the folks giving constructive feedback, but that's okay. And the people that are giving good feedback are saying, like, I got this incredible feedback the other day, and I won't say who right now, but they text me and said, hey, I'm not a creative person. I've never been called a creative person. I'm paraphrasing. I've never considered myself a creative person. I'm not a creative person. I've been listening regularly, and something about the way that you and your guests speak has opened up some creative thinking to me.
Yeah, that would
That's so
be
profound.
pretty exciting to hear.
Oh my goodness, like goosebumps. And it's someone very special to me. And it's like, I was just like, that's really incredible feedback. And like, I don't really care for the cadence. I don't really care for the topics. Like, none of that matters to me. I'm glad that people, like, I'm glad we're failing fast in that. I'm glad that people aren't listening if it's not interesting to them.
Right.
I've literally never, let me tell you something, folks. Folks, this is so funny. I'm a radio guy now. Let me tell you something, folks. I have literally never asked someone if they listen to the show.
Me neither. I haven't asked anybody.
Yeah, in the history. But that's weird, right? You're supposed to promote your show.
Right.
You're supposed to ask people, hey, have you listened to the show yet? I've never asked anyone.
My wife told me I was a podcaster before I left the house today, and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm on my friend's podcast, and I don't even tell anybody about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about it, and it's going great. That's my point.
It's cool for me.
So based on your question, my goal with Renaissance Radio is to be very crisp, very clean, and very exciting, because we know that I'm capable of exciting things. But the difficulty when you think like I think is sustainable execution. Like, I can execute anything once. You know what I mean? Like, this is so funny, man. This will be a funny story. Did you ever hear about Good Clean Sweat?
No.
You might have heard parts of it. So I got kicked out of college. I went to college for 6 months. My grades were terrible based on attendance. I didn't understand. It was my fault. I was doing pretty well in my classes.
I blame your professor.
No. I messed up, like, orientation or something. I was living off campus, and you're not supposed to live off campus till you're a junior.
Whatever. That's a dumb rule.
Well, I'm not going to put it down because it's a rule, and follow rules. So I don't have a parking pass. So I rack up, like, no matter where I park, I rack up like $800 worth of parking in half a year.
You got caught?
Everywhere. They check every space on prop, and I don't have a student pass because I live off campus. And I
Okay.
don't have an off campus pass because there's no.
So you were in trouble.
So I had an apartment. I was working multiple jobs, and I was looking at it like, okay, I'm paying for this service, and there's these like Sunday school type classes that were not innovative at all. Like, not that Sunday school should be innovative, but my point is, they were things that I had heard and learned. There was no depth to the study. It was just like remedial, like, hey, this is who Noah is. Probably it might have been a story. It might have been real. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to skip that one, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I can pass that course. And I literally just quit going to certain classes and then went to the others. And then, like, essentially aced the exams and realized that at one point I was losing a half a grade point at every absence.
They were crushing you for your attendance that
Yeah.
much?
Yeah. And I was so poor in communicating that I wasn't getting correspondence saying that that was happening. So I get to the second half of my semester there. This was really hurtful at the time, but it's been a long time. It was really embarrassing and frustrating. And my parents had given me some money to go to school. I paid for the rest through work. I have this apartment. Things are going pretty well. It's for radio broadcasting, actually. And
Hey,
which there were no, like, there was one.
at least you're working in your career field,
Yeah,
bud.
right. Yeah, right. So I get in there and I find out that, like, my grade is so low, they're going to kick me out of the college for like a semester. Like, I was in a semester. And I went and appealed, and I was really upset. I was so sad about it. And they're like, well, go take this course and let's see a change in behavior, right? We've had that discussion with
Oh, yeah.
employees, right?
Right,
We've
right,
set
right.
boundaries. I went to a J-term course that was like a sophomore or junior level J-term course. So it was the whole January. It was really intense. It was like 4 credit hours in just 1 month. It was a really intense one. And I aced it. And I also got a letter from the professor who was head of communication at the school saying this guy's an exemplary student. And they kicked me out.
They still kicked you out.
Yeah.
Who'd you?
And last Tuesday, I was the first day I wasn't bitter about it. Not exactly, but like it took me a long time to get over it. And I was not kind to college after that. 'Cause
Bro,
I
you
felt-
made somebody mad.
I must have. I think my behavior to me was something that I thought was reasonable based on just the pragmatic facts of the situation. I viewed it as they were serving me. And then also mix that with poor communication, poor timing and planning. And I just got so depressed, man. I was so sad about it. And then I went out and like got really upset. And that's where the sales career started.
Let's go.
Because that was a fire, man. I was just like, forget you
I don't need
guys.
this.
You guys are horrible. And I got really angry. And
Right.
I started grinding, you know.
And you started your own college.
I didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
No, that's made up. But that was like a really tough thing that happened during that time. I don't remember how we got on that with Renaissance.
You were talking about good, clean sweat.
Okay, so one of the things was that the college didn't allow dancing. I'm not endorsing this sort of behavior, but it was funny at the time. Any of these past stories, unless it's in the last 5-6 years, is probably not going to include me endorsing the behavior. It's just a story, okay? So I owned this gallery at this point. I was renting the space. I had photos on the wall, and I would sell.
How far removed are you from college, or are you in
couple
college?
years, 3 years. I had a DJ company that I was still running, and that was bringing in money. I was married at this point, so it must have been 3 years in or something like that. And I opened this. Oh yeah, I opened the gallery the day Harley, the day that Henry was born.
Okay.
So I remember that. So I'm running this place, and like there's a tuxedo shop in the back. I'm just grinding to make money however I can. So I have this high-end photo studio in this small town. Wasn't that great of a photographer, but I looked great in the way that I was presenting. You could rent tuxedos in the back, and like it was just a cluster, man. It was so funny. But
that's
we were
business.
grinding. It was working. And they're not allowed to dance. Oh, this was another thing. So they started. I'm sorry if you listen to this. You're probably not listening to this if you're one of those folks. I was feeling like really, really hurt about like suddenly just being rejected from school. And like that was a feeling that I really had hurt me in the past. And it just really hit a nerve. And there was a thing called EVAR, which is rave backwards, that the art department would run. And it was kind of like you weren't allowed to dance at this college. So it was kind of a rebellious thing. And I go to this EVAR and I show up because I was invited by somebody, and everybody's just glaring at me. This is crazy. I remember it. Like I remember this so vividly. I'm already kind of uncomfortable. I was homeschooled in high school, which is fine, but I was always kind of on the outside of the social stuff. I show up at this thing, and one of the guys walks up to me and goes, "Hey, I don't think you were invited to this. Why are you here?"
Yo, what stones on that, dude?
Yeah. And I said,
Jeez.
yeah, I was. And I brushed past him, all ticked off, but completely crushed inside. Like I was like a 5-year-old kid inside, but on the outside, I was like, we can scuffle, bro. Like I was fired up.
That's a bold statement.
I walked past him. I was like, who cares if I was invited? I'm here now. We gonna do. So it was like that feeling, but inside I was like this 5-year-old kid. It was so sad. So 2 years later, or a year later, I throw a competing dance party at my gallery.
Okay. All right.
And it's called Good Clean Sweat.
Nice.
I throw these. By the way, this is the answer to the kind of stuff I want to do. It's so fun. Random events. They're so fun.
That's right, dude.
So
It's got to be a party.
so my wife doesn't listen to the show, but I'm really excited about a vow renewal. I want to do it in the woods, and it's gonna be this whole deal. Everybody's gonna be invited, and there'll be musicians, and I'm really excited about throwing that. But anyway,
When are you going to do it?
I don't know.
All right.
Time's not really my thing.
All right. I'll see.
But so I throw Good Clean Sweat, and basically I rented a limo. I traded with a local company to rent a limo.
What'd you trade?
I don't know, something silly, probably. I always traded up. Something I didn't care about. And so I trade with a limo, and I start picking kids up with a limo I'm
the other
promoting
dance.
this as a club promoter, not at the dance, at the school though, on a different night.
Okay.
But I'm promoting this with postcards because like Vistaprint would do really cheap, like
Oh, yeah.
glossy postcards, Good Clean Sweat. I'm putting them all over school. They're like, you can't do this, and I'm like, I don't know who you
Try
are.
me.
You don't know who I am. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
You gave me for littering. You know, so I get people promoting it, like people handing out like old 90s club promoting type deal. And I get a limo driver to go to shuffle people back and
Jeez,
forth.
bro.
You know, a lot of this had some anger in it, but it was really fun. And here's the thing, that reason I told you about this whole long remedial healing story is because I didn't have drinks for the thing. I worked out a deal with Wendy's. Don't remember what it was.
With Wendy's?
Yeah, we got 100 of their cheapest burgers for something. I don't remember what I did, but they gave us 100 burgers. They sponsored the event. So they gave us 100 burgers. And
How'd
I just
you get
piled,
Wendy's to sponsor this?
it's a
That's
local,
ridiculous.
It's a local owner. It was a local owner,
Jeez,
franchise owner.
bro.
And then I called Jones Soda and I said, hey, because I was thinking of Red Bull. and they sponsor events. There's literally no one has ever come to this thing before. And I go, yeah, this event's called Good Clean Sweat.
Big deal.
Here's a flyer. Who
Everybody's
knows?
going to be there.
I would say things like there's thousands of people at this college. So, you know what I mean? And this town has 20,000 people in it, you know, and they're like, wow. And I'm like, but I have no idea who I'm just going to show up. So I call them and they send me the distributor who owns, like he doesn't own, but he just runs the drinks and stuff.
Right.
Probably had some waste, some overorder, whatever. He goes, well, how about Jones Soda? I said, I love Jones Soda. That's my first pick. I would love Jones Soda. So Jones Soda sponsors Good Clean Sweat.
All right.
And they send us like 15 cases of Jones Soda. So I got burgers, like talk about health code. I got burgers lined up and drinks, and I'm shuttling
And
people
glow
in,
sticks.
and it's a free event.
Let's go.
It's a free event. So they all show up and we're just playing techno and like clean, like not raunchy music and stuff. And it was the best of times. And we did it like for 3 years in a row.
I didn't realize you did it that much. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
The sponsorship thing was the whole point, which is just like, I need something. Who has it? Let me call and see what they'll do. And sure enough, Jones Soda and Wendy's supplied Good Clean Sweat.
Let's go, bro.
And it was the weirdest thing.
You should get Mr. Wendy on the podcast sometime.
Good friend of the show. But anyway, that whole
I guess
circle.
you could do Mr. Jones too.
That whole circle is this. Like, I'm sitting here, and for the first time ever with this type of work, I'm very content. But I'm also more capable than I've ever been. And I just don't feel pressure to push this thing, to really shape it quickly, because everything that's going so well is from just like pursuing something I'm passionate about.
So
I know that's dangerous. So I'm just trying to figure that out.
is it a business?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a super profitable, super helpful hobby.
Yeah.
I think that tons of artists are going to get help. Tons of businesses are going to make a lot more money. Amazing innovations are going to happen. Like, if I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I think that's
Is
right.
that okay?
Well, as long as you know it's a hobby, because I don't know, because you don't have like a super clear goal in mind, which is okay, but it's not okay if it's a business, right? Like businesses,
Right.
you can't have success in business without any kind of goal. And
So that's the disrupted part of it for me. Because like Good Clean Sweat, the reason I brought that up as an example is that was an idea, a passion, fully funded, fully attended, and could have been a business. The DJ business was the same. Photography was the same. HH Boogie was the same. Is there some version of that here that you see based on all these? Because you remember how this started, right? So ultimately it started, it was a cold winter night. A baby was born. Like, you can go all the way back. But one of the really important moments that happened was the tiniest bit of backstory is that like my giftedness was so tied to my wrong behavior and sin that there was a time that I needed to separate it.
yeah,
So I didn't do any photography, any business, anything. And I was working at a fast food restaurant, focused on the Lord, focused on my marriage, focused on my kids. And I couldn't process how, because my giftedness was so tied to my sin, I didn't think I would ever get to use that again.
right.
And so after 5 or 6 years of being faithful and learning and growing, you were kind of feeling convicted for me in a sense that I wasn't using my gifts in the way that I should. And there was a lot of things that I was almost resisting them, as a lot of things would pop up as a desire, and I'd go, no. And you're like, why? And you kind of got to a point where you're just like, dude, if you're going to do anything, well, first of all, correcting that thinking was really important.
Yeah.
That like the giftedness is agnostic. Like it's a gift from the Lord. It's not evil or good
And it
by
ain't
itself.
Yeah, right. And it's from the Lord.
And it's
Like,
not mine.
You're not
we talked
special.
about this. Like, what if both you and I lost our voices?
Yeah.
Our career opportunities would change drastically.
Yeah, I said to Mackenzie the other day, if like the Lord, if I felt led by the Lord to go to another country and
And
how
learn another language.
and how difficult it would be for me to find a career, because it's hard to be persuasive in a second language for
our
a long
ability
time.
to think and communicate is really what all this is built on, based on what we do, and it would be difficult.
Yeah,
And the point of that
really
story
hard.
is that if he took that away, like all of this is a gift and it's temporary. At minimum, it ends when I end.
Yeah.
So there was a conversation about that. And then I kind of came around to that. And then you said to me, I remember downstairs in the basement, I was just frustrated because like when you look at it, it's like, well, you're not Jeremy. You talk a lot, but you're not capable of these things. And that's not really what you were saying, but that was what it was looking like, because I'm working jobs that are well beneath my abilities, with 3 to 5 layers of management, and it was just like, what are you doing, man? And I was like, well, I'm trying to be faithful to like what's in front of me. And so you said to me, you got to start making something.
Yeah.
And in my mind, things were done once I solved it intellectually. I had gotten to that weird place. It wasn't always that way. I was always a doer. Like the sponsorships, like the DJ, like I always did things and then figured it out. Like I'd open the business, then figure it out.
Yeah, and that's like pretty traditional entrepreneurship.
Yeah, but something had broken there. And you started talking to me and saying like, you got to start making stuff. Like I don't want to hear about it until it's made.
Right.
And I kind of took that like, I got a little cranky about it. Not at you, but I was like, oh, I guess to the world, I'm a guy who can't follow through.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, you gonna see. You know what I mean? Like I just remembered all the things that I'm like, you know, I'm getting arrogant in my mind. And then like it calmed. You know how those flare up and stuff. But I was like looking at somebody who would say that to me, not someone like you that I respect that spends a lot of time with me, but someone who would say it outside of that situation. And I'd go, I've started and finished more things in a year than you've done in your whole life. What are you talking about? But I had gotten to a point where everything was intellectual and nothing was happening. So I guess for me, what Renaissance is right now is that. It's just like, I was like, man, I really think that a podcast would be a really enjoyable outlet for me.
Yeah.
And I think I have something to say, but I don't know what I would say yet, but I don't know how to run it yet. And I did it. And then it's like, well, you can't have an agency without a box to work in. You know, an agency isn't a person, that's a consultant. You know, and I started posting on Instagram like the good old days are now sort of thing. And I posted like last fall the, you know, stinking card table with my iPad on it. And, you know, here we are, like we're moving along. And so that's kind of how I feel. But then something comes in that's like super traditional and not building whatever this is. And I get stuck because I'm like, I can't go back there. But I think the things that I'm most passionate about are helping and growing and building things. And I just think a lot of the stuff that's coming in right now just isn't moving me. And I don't think I'm good when I'm forcing it.
I think that's a really wise thought. I think that,
which means I'm not communicating well enough to bring the right stuff in yet.
yeah, and I'm not totally sure that you're in a position where you're interested in taking anything on. I think you truly,
We're pretty swamped.
I think you truly want to make your own stuff at this point.
I feel that way too.
And I think you need to push to that as hard as you can.
This is my own stuff. So there's one,
Yeah.
but there's a clothing line that has been eating me alive that I want to get done.
I've heard about it for like 14 years.
Yeah. There's a furniture line that I want to get done so bad.
Heard about that for like 16 years.
App development. There's things that are basically wireframed.
17 years.
Yeah. I think that's it. And I think that's the gravitational pull that needs to pull others along, is that I'm doing great work.
Yeah.
And they go, I'd like to do great work too. And I go, well, we're going that way. If you want to get in, you can.
Yeah. So that's the question, man. Like, how do you get there for your clothing line, right? Like, for one,
I feel like I can help other people get there really quick, but it just takes a third party sometimes. Like I'm stuck on some things.
yeah. So what is it that's in your way for that? Because you need to do it. And you've talked about it for so long that it's clearly important.
Yeah.
So
and
why
it's been so long now that it's fully developed in my mind.
why haven't you done it yet?
I think there's not space for it yet.
What do you mean by space?
I was talking to you about this the other day. Like in our day job, you and I, how did you describe it when two partners work together really, really well and something happens? You described that really well.
Are you talking about when I described like
You said oftentimes.
how, businesses sort of partners will naturally take over a section of the business,
Yeah.
and how typically you have one partner who works on the business while another partner works in the business.
How would you
Meaning-
describe that? Yeah.
Meaning the partner working in the business is kind of making sure the business runs every day. Think of the traditional like CEO
Operations.
at a company, right?
Yeah.
They kind of are working in the business while, let's say that there's a president of that company. They might be working to move the business forward, working on the business. What's the next strategic step? If we look at Apple, I think like Steve Jobs was never working in the business. He was always working on the business.
I see.
And, different people were working in the business in that situation.
But the reality of the situation is Tim Cook, who works in the business, took the business to a place Steve never would have.
Yeah.
I mean, he exploded that business because he was so focused on what actually needed to happen.
Yeah. Apple's an imperfect example because it's not a partnership anymore. Before, when it was like Steve and Woz,
Yeah.
back in the day,
Well, that's a great example.
Woz worked in the business. Steve worked on the business.
Yeah.
kind of a more traditional example.
So that's how you and I kind of operate now. It's naturally gone that way.
Right.
The reason I bring that up is because I told you the other day during the day job, that I felt like I was missing, like you and I work together every day. We're so diligent, and that's what I prefer. But there's a space that's missing that I'm now using in the evenings, like late at night, every 1.5 weeks or so. I'll stay up till 2, 3 in the morning where I get in the zone to get things done. And that's kind of missing, where it's like, I can't create perpetual motion in the way that my day is segmented right now. So I don't think it's just a scheduling issue, but you asked about what's holding me back from design and
Do
stuff.
you need someone like that leads to the question, like, is this a business, right? Because I think theoretically you could, I don't know that there's anything stopping you from designing a t-shirt and
I
finding
think my
a
work
local
would
printer.
stand up to the market. But the problem,
Do you have to sell it?
why don't you describe with what you know about me, what my sales process would look like?
You would just make it and put it on the internet.
Yeah, I would make my own stuff for myself.
So
Yeah.
like
And
you
then-
can do that right now.
Well, I'm not in the zone to design it. Everything's stuck here. So like there's a really excruciating 6 to 8 hours straight where you get nothing done, where you just agonize and stare at it and draw it and whatever. And then it just kind of usually just kind of goes, oh, duh. Obviously I just need to do that. But I can never skip to the obviously I need to do that. It always takes like this long winding in the woods kind of like.
Yeah.
And so when I was designing, I can only use examples that make sense to me. When I was designing, when we were working on our day business where we did some extremely innovative things together, we were in quarantine and we had no meeting disruption. We just got to work on it every day, all day.
Right.
And we worked on it day and night when we did sprints and things like that.
Yep.
Day and night. When I did HH Boogie, I went to the shops. I spent 3 days out there. I met with the craftsmen. I talked to them. I felt the materials.
I think that's the thing that you're missing.
The feeling of the materials brought questions in my mind that would have never happened at my desk about quality and opportunity. I go, could we do this? Could we try this? Because I'm holding it in my hands. And that's, I think, the desire for the prototyping studio is like, when I'm saying prototyping, I mean Willy Wonka. I mean a big space that has every type of wood, printers, whatever, because then when I can touch things, feel things, and put them there. So on the smaller scale, what you were probably just about to say was, I need to go spend time with a printer.
Yeah, bro. You need to call Zach Traxler of Traxler Printing. Shout out to Zach Traxler.
Hey, Zach Traxler, big, long-time listener, friend of the show.
He's probably one of the best printers in the city. And
I already know the shirt I want to use. I know the guy that I want to model who I trust him.
And
Christian over at 1924 US. I trust that everything he did was right. So I want to start there and understand if that's something.
And like
available to me.
I remember you describing to me your clothing line a while ago, and I feel like you got it figured out. Like I think I could make
Yeah.
it based on what you told me. I think
Yeah.
I could make it.
Yeah, I think the design piece of like the prototype line and the Missimo line, I need to be sitting and touching. I need to be in a room by myself, listening to my music for a while.
Okay.
And just touching the materials and stuff. So really, it'd be a gathering of the materials.
Let's wrap
and-
on that real quick.
Yeah.
So that is something that is very that what you just described is a creative process that is very specific to creatives, like just traditional artists, creatives. Why?
I have no idea. I think
Because like I think I could make it, dude. Right now, I think I could make your shirt.
I don't know if I'd like it yet, though.
You know
There's
what I
something
mean?
about it. I know you think that, but what I'm saying is, this is getting into some cheesy art space stuff. I'm not trying to sound like a hierarchy on art. I'm just trying to figure out how to say it.
And I'm not the guy for this, right? Like I'm not the artist.
No. I'm with
So-
you. I'm with you. You're challenging me for a good reason. So my like I'm inspired by the texture and colorways of these cashews right now. I've been noticing that for a while. This gray, the way the light is hitting the brown. This is very prototype line for me.
Okay.
And so the process of this is when you select a shirt, you don't select the best shirt. You select obviously on quality first. You start there. What are the shirts that won't fade, won't damage, won't yellow, those sort of things? What can handle sun? What can handle stains?
What's gonna do best with like somebody who sweats a lot?
Sweats a lot,
That's an
elasticity.
example.
I want to know what the best material is. And as you know, I have a book completely full of material that I can feel and touch. And it was like a lot of money to get
Yeah,
that.
it's a pretty
and
cool
I
book.
really like it. But then what I got to do is I got to do Adobe Capture and get this colorway. Like before we end, I'm filming on the camera now, but I got to actually take this picture right now, convert the white balance to what I'm feeling. And you see all these, but even this texture of the salt on the cashew just is like kind of what I'm thinking for like the tag of the shirt. And so this feeling, like being tactile and actually feeling it, now I'm thinking about, okay, what's the tag of the shirt? Because it can't be scratchy on the neck. And my tag is going to be a piece of art that could be cut out and patched on another shirt if you wanted to. But it's a unique, one-of-a-kind piece of art that goes over the top that tells you anyway. So, like, it just, each time you touch something or you smell something or you feel something that inspires you about the thing, it brings about different questions.
How long has it been the cashews? How long have the cashews been a part of the vision?
Probably a week.
A week.
Yeah.
What happens in 2 weeks?
Well, the point is, I never have everything around me that I need to close it out. And that's what I'm getting at. Is like, I don't know what the shirts are. I want the print quality. You know that I've watched this about 15 times and there's no color degradation on it. I need to know what that is. So I do need to meet with the printer and say, can you make this shirt that I bought for $65 for a t-shirt? Can you do this technically? And then when I know he can do it technically, I'm going to probably want to go to it. Like, it's so weird, man, because I want the shirt to have meaning every time I see it. And so I can picture in my mind the room that I'm sketching on with the paper and the pencils for the prototype line. And I'm going to go, I want you to print these 4 pages. And then I'll be able to tell the story that, like, that's what I did to make this shirt. And it might be like $400 by the time I'm done. I don't even know.
Yeah, right. And then you'll just frame it.
I'm going to wear it.
No, you just frame it.
It ain't going to cost me $400 to print it.
Yeah,
So
right.
I can make my own whenever I want. I don't know, man. I think that sounds kooky, but I've been missing that, man. Like, I just had a really great vacation with my kids. It was wonderful with my wife and my kids. What a beautiful, wonderful, honest experience that I'm describing right now.
Yeah, right. That's what I heard.
We went to a water park and it was amazing.
You love water parks too, man. You
Listen.
talk about that all the time.
Listen, sometimes when you love someone, Harley, you do the opposite of what you like.
Are you going to make swimwear when you do your clothing line?
Listen, here's the deal. I don't ever even want to go back to the memory of that experience except for how wonderful my wife and kids and time with them
That's
was.
right.
But the experience itself was not what I'd be looking for. The whole time I'm thinking, like, I just wish I was next to a tree right now, man. Like, I wish I was outside and I wish I was somewhere that challenged me and was thinking. I think just sometimes I just go in these waves of the situation becomes predictable and it's hard to be creative and execute on something new when your situation is predictable. But if you're efficient, your situation...
Bro, this is like the innovator's dilemma, man. You're describing
with my own dang
a
life.
version of the innovator's dilemma. And this isn't special to you, bro. I mean, like,
Thanks.
this is something that artists and creatives, I feel like is consistent in their lives. I feel like there's kind of a stereotype of like the tortured artist or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think it's this kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And I can't pin it down. I can't describe it as well as you'd be able to. But, I think that is what trips you up.
We're inserting with the cashew. We're inserting meaning into an innocuous object, into an animate, innocuous object that means nothing. We are literally, as artists, saying, I'm going to take this goo and I'm going to wipe it on this piece of paper that anybody can buy. And I'm going to arrange it in a certain way that means something.
Yeah.
And artists are constantly trying to insert meaning. Now, there's a level of self-importance there, but I think I'm in a healthy space where I'm like, I have things that mean something to me that I want to get out, and I think others will hopefully enjoy it, but for me, it's remarkable, and I want to make it. H.H. Boogie was a box, but it like meant a lot to a lot of people, and in 100 years from now, people are going to find those and say, what was that? And that actually closed, by the way. I was really sad, but I was really happy for them. The people who bought it from us ran it for quite some time, and now they're adopting like 3 kids.
Nice.
That are really struggling. I think they're from Africa, but they're having a really hard time, and and they just said it's not a good fit for right now. What a beautiful way to close out such a thoughtful, amazing business that is going to now be completely inaccessible until it matters again in 100 years. What a great poetic ending, right? Like, I mean, it's just great. And when you insert value into things for a living to some degree, and that's where self-importance comes in business. That's the artist part probably coming out saying like, don't you see the value of what we've done here? And businesses really have an obligation to run on results.
Right.
And not the beauty and poetry of how it got executed.
Yeah.
And so that's a challenge. So for me, what I want to do right now is I want to create something that when they hold it, they feel special. When I hold that book from Textilepedia, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I'm
that's right.
I'm like 100 people had to have contributed to this book for it to happen. And nothing in it is not on purpose. And then I hear about like this rescue mission on Full Touch Chalk that was like the most iconic chalk on the planet, and it doesn't run and it doesn't powder in the same way. And these people, and then like the Japanese company couldn't sustain, so a Korean company's like, no, this has to exist. And I'm just like, I have to own that. I have to hold that chalk and go, that is really meaningful. And that's the kind of stuff I want to make for people, but I don't have a way right now to create momentum around it. So I can go technically find out, and I should do that. I should meet your guy and go, can you pull this off? That'll move me forward a lot.
Well, I think that's what you're missing, right? Like if you need momentum, you have to execute at least in a little way, right? And so you said, you need to get into the shops. So like,
which I had Shannon reach out to a couple shops. It's
Go.
been a little bit hard to get a hold of somebody.
You
So
know what
if
I
you have
mean?
a recommendation,
yeah, Zach Traxler. I don't even know how I know him, but I know him,
and he's legit.
and he's legit, dude. He's awesome. He's the best.
Hey man, you're not my secretary and you don't work for me. Can you set that up?
Traxler Printing is dope. I think we're connected on social media. I'll
Yeah, maybe
do something on
maybe
there.
we can connect because I would really like that. But that's not it though. Like I don't want to start a t-shirt company.
No,
know?
but
So that's my point.
You
Like,
need
that
a
next
partner
level-
like him, right? So
Yeah.
you show up and you go, "Hey, I'm making a t-shirt," and then like I don't know, this is what I would do. I don't know if you should do it, but you go, "Hey, I'm making a t-shirt," and then like make up a deadline, because I get like from what you're describing to me, I think it would be too easy to get stuck in a creativity loop.
Eternity. Yeah.
And you every time you go, "Oh, but like I was
Yeah.
inspired by this and then how," and then you can never do it all, right?
Yeah, well, that's the discouragement, encouragement part. The discouragement part of that is like that's all artists because you're never done. You're not like, okay, good, finally I finished my art.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
so you have to get to a point where you're comfortable with the idea that whatever you're on isn't done. But at the same time, the discouragement is like it's not done. And so
Yeah.
that's the reality. I think the deadline for me, as you know, I have a little. Actually, this might be something you pointed out too with ADHD that. Time is really the issue, and I've been crushing it lately since I realized that I just don't measure time in the same way, and I need to, use the calendar and things like that.
Right.
I think for me, it's less a deadline because I just don't, I'll just wing it; it'll be fine. I think it's more about scheduling a day. So, like, if I scheduled a day, even if I rented out a space that was sick, or I went with some of my partners, like Fox Hollow, that has a shop, and I just dedicated a day or a weekend to just drinking great coffee, traveling from spot to spot, collecting samples, going out to the fabric shop, meeting with the t-shirt guy. I think I'd finish it that weekend. If I'm in it, I can't stop. You saw this, like this is crazy. This is crazy, the podcast. Like that was so fast
Yeah.
because I was in it. And so I think that will create a deadline if I create a weekend and say, this is the weekend I'm making my shirt. Because I think I will look forward to it for a month. I'll just be so excited. Or
Well,
a
we
day.
cracked it, dude.
Or
We
a
figured it
day.
out.
That's right?
We did it, yeah.
That's so good, dude. Disrupted brought to you by. But yeah, man, thank
By
you.
Pepto.
That's really helpful. In passing, and the reason I thought it was a helpful discussion, I'll probably release this as a regular guest episode if that's all right with you, because it's a little more indulgent than a Disrupted podcast series. But what do you think are some of the attributes of what you're observing with Renaissance? A lot of our work together, again, is day job, but what you're observing that feels slightly disruptive. You've had a few comments in good ways that have said, like, that's not uncommon, and that's important, that I recognize that, like, all artists struggle in this way, all businesses
Yeah.
struggle. What
And
do you
and
see?
many artists start when they get into business, they start by just making something and then people like it and they just stumble into business. That happens all the time.
Right. And all the other stuff's still available, right? Like, I still have businesses. The problem isn't that I can't attract those clients. I still have people coming to me going, asking for business advice. I just am not at a point where I can take them on professionally. So I end up still giving them the plan. Like, I still just do it.
Yeah.
To some degree. And what I've been learning is just putting the ball in their court to test if they're up for it. So I just say, hey, here's what I would do. And I just write it out. And if they're nowhere, they probably weren't a good fit anyway.
Yeah. I have a hard time telling you what is disrupted about Renaissance Agency, mostly because I'm not totally sure what Renaissance Agency is anymore, or right now, I guess I should say.
Let's go.
I
Really
thought
shiny hobby, dude.
your the original vision that you pitched to me would fit.
Yeah, remind me what that is. I already forgot.
Which was, essentially a, you could simplify it as an agency, but I think more so what you were doing is you were looking at the creative space the same way a contractor would look at the building space. And I thought that was an interesting model. I thought that was outside of the box. And I think that the space needs something like that.
But I think a big major turn was the realization that I really just want to do my own stuff.
which is
I'm kind of tired of working on other
that's
people's
exactly
stuff.
right. And I think that's a better fit for you because like this might sound a little harsh, but you've given a lot of business advice and you haven't done a lot of business in a little while.
Well, come on now. I'm going to push back on that. We've been doing some business.
Yeah, you know what I mean though.
Yeah.
Like
You're going to have to expand on it because I feel like I have been doing business.
you haven't sold something in a long time that you made.
Like a physical good.
Yeah.
Because I sold some ideas.
Well, I mean, like, for how, like, did you like
Yeah.
close a
Yeah.
6-figure deal? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess I can see what you're saying. But I think if you walked into certain rooms, someone would look at your history and go like, yeah, dude, this was
They
really
would see a
great.
gap.
This was really great. What happened these last 5 years, 7 years, whatever it is at this point?
Yeah.
And I think they would want to say like, go do HH Boogie again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I'm getting at.
I think what I'm excited
And so
about
I think
is
that's a good fit.
I appreciate that. I think what I'm looking at is never walking in a room again.
That's reasonable too.
I think that's probably the thing. And I think that that makes total sense. Like, I think that that's the question. I mean, that's a gamble too. You know, if you're working to build a resume, you got to be considerate of that. You know, that's a huge issue right now. Like mothers who take time off with their kids and stuff, sometimes they're being penalized
Yeah.
for that gap in time. And I'll be honest with you, like walking into a tech startup and saying like, I was living selfishly and sinfully and the Lord got a hold of my heart and I repented and took 5 or 6 years to focus on my family. And like that doesn't translate to job opportunities.
Right.
Although we're doing great.
Yeah.
Our day job's killing it. And this is going really well. I'm excited about the fact that I just don't feel any pressure.
Which is good.
I got a good bit of mixed feedback and all of the constructive came at once. It was like in the same day. And I was okay. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm getting the normal amount of feedback that's good. Like, I think that I'm getting like good constructive feedback and good positive feedback. But the portioning was, I got a lot all at once. And my good stuff was very spread out and very frequent too. But boy, oh boy, I was like, man, let's mix a good one in here today. If we're going to have feedback day, it felt a little bit like an intervention because like 5 separate people commented unbeknownst to each other about opportunities in the show. And I went, like an idiot, I look at him and I'm like thinking, wow, you listen to my show. like I'm supposed to be thinking like, oh, I really need to work on this and do this. And I was just looking at him going, that's crazy. I would have never guessed
Thanks for listening.
that you're a listener. That's wild. Dylan prepared me for that. He was just
really?
Yeah, he goes, it's an emotional roller coaster if you let it because you can look at your subscriptions, you can look at all that. And I
Yeah.
was like, I think I'm going to be okay because I don't like looking at that stuff.
Mm.
You know, we don't like, I'm like, I'll ask you about projections. I go, I think this model will work. And you go, well, how much we make on it? And I go, oh, I hadn't considered.
What's that?
I hadn't considered.
What do you mean?
This is just the formula, but like how much? And I look at you
Yeah.
like you're supposed to add it up.
Right.
And then you find all these things I miss and things like that. It's pretty great, man. Well, I appreciate that. I think to recap, it's
Well,
a
hey, dude,
hobby.
I can't wait to buy a shirt.
It's a hobby. I should make a shirt, and I haven't done anything in a while. Thanks, Harley. Really appreciate it. This is why you need one good friend and not too many because you can't handle it. Oof. But no, that's the truth. These are where all these discussions have gone. And I think my contentment with those statements is the confusion.
You know what I mean.
I know
bro.
exactly what you mean. No, but what I'm saying is the reason this topic came up at all is that doesn't hurt. And I don't know why that is. Like I'm okay right now with that.
Well, yeah, and I think that's good. I think that's the most important
And I
part.
also think it's going to be, but it's weird to think on one hand that it's a hobby and then I'm going to become more Renaissance centered for my vision of the work that I and the people like me will be doing. Less of an open net, more of a recruitment of a very specific group of people that it makes sense to do nothing at all rather than to do something halfway at this stage. And it's weird because it's a gamble because it's just like, well, maybe.
Yeah, your contentment is the key, man. As long as you're content, then your pace doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And the pace feels fast compared to the last, like, you know what I mean? Compared to,
Right.
it feels fast right now because it's building momentum a bit at a time. Like every day I look around, I go, whoa, like this is crazy. Like my creative work has worked its way into our day job quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, this is crazy. And I'm excited about what the next 12 months looks like. And again, thank you listeners for your feedback. I hope that didn't sound like I was being negative toward constructive feedback or criticism. You don't have to nerf it. I can take it. It's really great. But we'll see what this turns into. I'm really excited about the 100th episode for some reason.
Yeah, that's coming up in like 3 weeks or something, right?
Well, we're at 20. We're at 20 right now, so
Oh,
it'll
okay.
be a little bit. But that's gone pretty fast since Christmas.
Yeah, 20 seems fast for when you started.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I like.
yeah. My advice early on was start once a month because you need to be consistent. And then I said, well, what about once a week or twice a week
Or like 3 times a week.
or whatever I feel like. So anyway, folks, thanks for listening to basically Harley and I talking in a room, which is what we do
Most days.
most days. Have a good one. See you.